I was convinced I had Mast Cell Activation Syndrome, and I was dismissed by 3 separate GPs, all that said it's not a real thing and haven't heard of it. I lost 4 people within 2.5 years, and my symptoms exploded. They just exploded. So I became allergic to, when I say everything, I just became allergic to every different skincare brand, even natural oils. I had so many skin issues and gut issues. If you can have some relief, which I have now with medication, supplements, and protocol with a nutritionalist, if you can get that symptom under control, then it gives you a little word, which is a very important word for mast cell activation sufferers, and that is hope. So 1 symptom down, quite a few more to go, but 1 symptom down. I can eat. It can take months, sometimes 6 months to heal a gut, even longer depending on your symptoms. But you've got to have faith in the process, and you've got to give things a really good go. Find those little moments of joy where you can, and try and live your life as fully as possible, even with your symptoms, which I know is so hard. There's no knight in shining armor that's going to come and rescue you. You are your knight in shining armor. It's as simple as that.
Hey, before we dive in, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to hit subscribe and join us on this journey. You see, we created BioBelly because gut health changed everything for me and the people I love. I watched my best friend Ankit battle ulcerative colitis, and my aunt struggle with IBS-C, and seeing their pain showed me how broken the system really is. There's so much confusion out there and so little care that feels personal or hopeful. BioBelly exists to change just that, with science you can trust, education that empowers you, and solutions that actually help. So if you believe in making gut health simple, compassionate, and effective, I'd love for you to subscribe and be part of this movement with us. And for little daily gut health tips and encouragement, you can always find me on TikTok at the Gut Guy. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's episode. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the BioBelly Show. Today I am joined by someone very special. Kate Elgood, also known online as Mast Cell Disease Girl. She's on a mission to shine a light on what it's truly like to live with mast cell disease and to amplify the voices of people navigating MCAS around the world. She's not only a warrior herself, but also has a source of education, advocacy, and hope for so many others. In this conversation, we will dive into her personal journey, the challenges and lessons along the way that she's learned, and the powerful message she wants to share with the world. Kate, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Love it. Kate, if you can you share your personal journey when you first noticed symptoms and what it was, the road of getting that MCAS diagnosis?
Yeah, of course. So my symptoms first became noticeable about 4 years ago, and I started reacting to mainly skincare. So things that are heavily fragranced or things that had a lot of preservatives in, even hand sanitizer, things like that. I was beginning to get itchy hives, reddening of the skin, flushing, and a few digestive issues, but nothing that really concerned me. I just cut out a few products and it seemed to kind of be okay, but nothing that would cause alarm. The symptoms would come and go, and I could never really figure out what it was I was allergic to. And then I went through a lot of trauma. So, 2.5 years ago, I lost my sister to cancer. And the day of her funeral, my mum was diagnosed with terminal cancer also. And then I lost my grandmother, and then I lost my stepdad. So I lost 4 people within 2.5 years. And my symptoms exploded. They just exploded. So I became allergic to, when I say everything, I just became allergic to every different skincare brand, even natural oils. I had so many skin issues and gut issues. I just wasn't responding to treatment. So I saw 6 different dermatologists. I thought, oh, this is just allergies, steroid creams, you name it, different creams, to kind of bring down inflammation. And then I noticed I started reacting to tap water, which was the big one. So hives, swelling on the skin from tap water. And then the gut system really started to just go haywire. And all this time, it was being fueled by stress as well. So it was like a perfect storm, really, for these symptoms to arise. So you're talking chronic stress. Perhaps I had this chemical sensitivity beforehand, and I had, some confirmed allergies on the skin. But the more testing I was having and the more testing that was coming back as, oh, you're a healthy human being, the more stressed I was getting. So I was thinking, what is this thing that I have? And yeah, I just couldn't figure it out. Could not figure it out. Yeah.
Wow, wow. And of course, in that time of uncertainty, it is always a moment of solace when you finally do seek care from someone who knows what they're doing and you're able to finally stumble upon, okay, this is the problem I have. Could you walk us through that?
Yeah. So I wasted a lot of time and money.
Right.
I'm going to be honest, and I think a lot of people in their mast cell journey will agree with this. You have lots of testing with your GP that doesn't necessarily show anything up. I paid for something called an Alex 2 test, which is 300 allergens,
Wow.
and everything came back negative.
Um,
So I wasn't allergic to anything. So these s- symptoms I was having with the gut, I didn't understand. So I'm like, but I'm not allergic to anything. But my mast cells were just going crazy. They were just hyper vigilant. My immune system was just going absolutely bonkers. So even things that I had no confirmed allergies with, I was reacting to. So then I kind of thought to myself, after 2 years of trying different diets and exclusion diets, the wheat, the dairy, just becoming more and more allergic to different things within my environment, I thought, I'm going to go see an allergist. And the wait on the NHS, so I don't know if you're familiar with the UK NHS, but there are waiting lists that are sometimes, I think the waiting list for dermatology was 18 months.
wow.
And that's a long time to be in pain.
Yeah.
So there wasn't just one person that I went to go see. So I obviously had grief counseling because a lot of people said it was just stress. And I take that on board that, I had been through a lot and my symptoms exploded, but I had symptoms before this. I contacted a couple of charities, one being Mast Cell 360 and another one called Mast Cell Action, because I was convinced I had Mast Cell Activation Syndrome. And I was dismissed by 3 separate GPs, all that said it's not a real thing and haven't heard of it. I thought I was going crazy.
Wow.
They questioned my mental health, put me on antidepressants, put me on diazepams, calm me down. All this time, pain increasing, increasing, increasing. And then managed to find an amazing nutritionist and someone that deals in alternative medicine. They're actually a two nutritionists that work together called Summit Health, and they work with people all over the world. They work with people over Zoom, and I had a really good chat about my symptoms. And for the first time, I felt heard, and there was other people on the course like me, and we started to really look at different things. So already contacted the allergist that said, we're going to recommend these medications to stabilize the mast cells and to help bring these reactions down. But also, if you're not a healthy human being, you can take all the medication you want. You're not getting to the root cause of the symptoms, which for me was my nervous system,
Mm,
a lot of stress.
right.
But also, was there something else feeding the mast cells? Was there something that was causing these mast cells to overreact?
Right.
And it really was about several things in my journey that really helped were Summit Health. They do talk through supplements that will help, but they also talk through a complete lifestyle overhaul. So I think most people with chronic illness, especially those with mast cell, you have to take your health seriously. And we focused on diet, but we also focused on resilience, mental resilience, strength training, which I thought I would never be able to do. So lifting weights, becoming stronger, my nervous system dysregulation, so bringing those stress levels down. And I also started a course called Primal Trust, which I can't recommend highly enough. So Primal Trust, if people haven't heard of it, it's an online course. And have you heard of it yourself?
I have not. I have not. I'm jotting it down right now. I'm gonna look at it right after this conversation. It sounds promising.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. So it really works on nervous system dysregulation and where other practices had worked. So like grievance counseling
Mhm.
and keep revisiting those really painful moments of grief.
Right.
What I actually needed to do was calm down and to make my nervous system feel safe again.
Wow.
So some very powerful tools and yeah, starting the Instagram page was purely about finding other people like myself and trying to figure out this journey with other people, joining Facebook groups. And there's a lot of, oh, don't join this group and don't do too much research because it can actually kind of feed that inflammation, feed that stress. But if I hadn't have done those things, if I hadn't have thought outside the box and Googled symptoms and Googled allergists and Googled my nervous system and my stress, I do not actually know where I'd be today.
That is so powerful, Kate. Like, I think it speaks volumes as to the impact the nervous system has on our health, right? Like, when I think mast cell disease, it shocked me knowing that some of the general practitioners they did not even know at first exactly what MCAS was, right? When they were diagnosing you, that boggles my mind, right? Because they are supposed to be well equipped with all the information of all the possible diagnoses a person like us can have. My question is,
Yeah.
right? And my person is my question is, if we can dive a little deeper as to, along with the nervous system, was there a role of diet as well that also was a needle mover towards healing the mast cell disease?
Yeah. So again, I worked with the two nutritionists, Summit Health,
Yeah.
but then they're not just focusing on diet, it is complete lifestyle overhaul, as I said.
Love it.
So I started on the low histamine diet, which for a lot of people that suffer with mast cell activation syndrome, they are going to understand this diet.
Right.
And there are some crazy things on the low histamine diet that you think are really good for you, like avocados, spinach, citrus fruit. All these things are a no-go zone on the low histamine diet.
Mm,
So it was a little bit restrictive at first, and it was a no gluten, no dairy diet to kind of bring down some of the inflammation in the body. Just as we didn't really know what was causing it. So diet is very good and it's going to make you a healthy human being, but that is a really small part of the
wow.
puzzle.
Mm,
And the best way I can describe it is if you try one thing and it doesn't work, then of course it's not going to work because you're not looking at the whole picture. And a lot of people, they do the low histamine diet and they say, oh, this hasn't worked. Or they've tried a medication for 6 weeks. Oh, it doesn't work. oh, well, I've tried the nervous system dysregulation. It hasn't worked. Have you tried all of these things together? Have you looked at what's happening within your body? Have you thought about your stress levels? Have you and especially with the diet, you're only going to by implementing a healthy diet, you're never going to be doing harm. It's not like taking a medication and you have this horrific reaction. So with mast cell and diet, you have to go quite slowly. So it's implementing foods and supplementation. You can take some natural antihistamines and mast cell blockers that don't work for everyone. But I cannot stress enough that you need to work with a practitioner who is trained in mast cell. So there's loads of nutritionists out there who promised to fix my gut, and I spent thousands of pounds, and I got worse.
Well,
And I found someone that really did understand histamine and mast cell activation syndrome. And within 2 or 3 weeks, although I still have some symptoms that are very unpleasant and I'm in quite a bit of pain, my digestion improved within 2 weeks.
wow.
So I went from having constant diarrhea for 6 months and not being able to really absorb any nutrients and being sick, being dizzy, to within 2 or 3 weeks of working with Summit Health, just having some relief with one of the symptoms. But you're not going to be fixed overnight. So, and there is some trial and error. So you have to be resilient.
Right. It really makes me think, Kate, like the bouts of diarrhea, the hives, the pain, these are all such critical symptoms of MCAS. Would you be able to share exactly what's going on in the gut when there is an issue of mast cell disease?
I can only explain my experiences. I'm probably not the best person to talk scientifically
Of
because I'm
course.
a patient, but I can only say that my reactions were quite instant. So say for example, if I had a really high histamine food, like I had a pint of orange juice once before I realized this was mast cell activation syndrome. And oh my God, that was an eventful day. So some foods are gonna really make you react. But my mast cell, I mean, a lot of people focus on the gut, and that is without doubt, a really good starting place. But a lot of my reactions were on the skin as well. So with mast cell activation syndrome, it can sometimes be environmental as well. It can be mold, it can be chemical sensitivity. But I would say, the gut is a really good place to start. And if you can have some relief, which I have now with medication, supplements, and protocol with a nutritionist, if you can get that symptom under control, then it gives you a little word, which is a very important word for mast cell activation sufferers, and that is hope.
Yes.
So one symptom down, quite a few more to go, but one symptom down, I can eat. I am eating a rainbow of foods now, and some days I still react. Yeah, some days I still react. Some days I have a reaction and I'm thinking, what have I just eaten? But instead of, getting stressed and over-evaluating, I go back to my safe foods for a couple of days, the foods I know that are working, and maybe try and figure it out. Maybe it wasn't food related at all. Maybe it was stress. It's a really tricky thing to try and manage, but I would say don't try and do it alone.
Right.
Find someone who's got the expertise. Oh, and about the expertise, there's just a little something I wanted to say. So there's lots of people that claim to be able to treat mast cell activation syndrome or mast cell disease or mast cell disorder. It has lots of different names. But what really helped me was you need to be reading the reviews. So the allergist that I'm working with at the minute in London, his reviews for treating mast cell activation syndrome and problems with the gut that are linked to mast cell activation syndrome and problems with the skin, his reviews were like 5 out of 5 stars.
Wow.
And you need to be not just picking a nutrition that goes, yeah, I can fix this, because obviously you're paying money. You're paying money. You need to make sure that, read the testimonials, ask them what their experience is, really do some digging before you waste a lot of money and time.
Absolutely. And Kate, I think to your earlier point, the story you shared about your experience dealing with these care providers, I noticed that the ones that are truly, along with having great reviews, and a proven track record of serving people with MCAS, I have noticed that they always take a holistic approach, like the nutritionist that you mentioned that you were visiting. They had the holistic approach of looking at your nervous system. It wasn't just okay, what food are you eating? Elimination diet. They had the bird's view perspective of looking at you as a entire holistic being who has stress, who has past God forbid trauma, and that's really where care should be holistic.
It should. However, saying that, and this is something that I think that's really important, is that I am on medication as well.
Okay, yes.
So sometimes with mast cell activation syndrome, you are in an extreme amount of pain, whether that be a skin reaction or a gut reaction, or coping mechanisms with the pain, stress levels, insomnia.
Mm,
It's not pleasant at times, and I would never say to someone, don't take medication, only choose a holistic route. And I would never say to someone, only choose a holistic route, or vice versa. Sorry, only take the medication and don't look at the other areas.
right.
I really want to stress it's about, you need to find what works for you. And you may not get the answers first time round. And there's a lot of disappointments with trialing medication, supplements, and diet. And you have to be resilient. It's a real, I'm not going to lie, it's been a hard journey, but there are support systems out there, not just for mast cell, but for chronic illness sufferers. It's, and making your friends and family understand is a hard battle too. It's not just about being heard, it's about getting that support where it's needed, and it's very hard.
I completely understand. So it is a hybrid of that traditional care with the holistic. That is that perfect cocktail of care that we need for our gut issues.
I would say that is what's worked for me. There are some people out there that have managed to heal their gut issues purely holistically.
Wow.
So I think, as I said, there isn't one size fits all with myself. If I had that secret formula, I would pass it on
And
to you.
yeah.
I would pass it on. I would pass it on to the world. I would, shout about it from the rooftops. But there's no magic cure.
Mhm.
There's no silver bullet. There's testing and trialing and looking at what's going on with your body. There's, extensive testing you can do to look what's happening with your hormone, your gut health, your nutrient deficiencies, all of these different things. But I wasn't offered these tests through my GP within the UK. I was only offered these tests by working with a private allergist and immunologist and nutritionists.
Got it.
And yeah, it costs money, but the only way I can justify it is, I don't drink, I don't really go out, I'm allergic to all makeup, so I can't buy that. I haven't bought any clothes. I haven't managed to go on holiday because I react to the sun. So all this money I'm saving,
Yeah.
I spend it I spend it on trying to get better. So for any patient out there, I was like, oh my God, the financial implications of getting better. Try one thing, add one thing at a time. work with the practitioner,
Yeah.
and get your health sorted. There's nothing more important than your health.
Absolutely. And Kate, I think I'm very grateful you taught us that every gut is unique, right? And care, the supplement routines, the lifestyle choices, the daily practices, they will differ from person to person, given your
Yeah.
unique gut, your unique life experiences, right?
Of course, yeah. And I think that's the other thing is like, I was always told that the cause of my mast cell activation syndrome was my grief.
Mm.
That was what I was told, and they completely dismissed the symptoms I had before grief. And for some people with mast cell activation syndrome, they haven't been through grief. They haven't been through trauma. So what works for me necessarily isn't going to work
Right.
for someone else. So your root causes need to be kind of determined, and your root causes are, they're things that medication aren't going to fix. Root causes, they might help you feel better and alleviate symptoms, but then they're not going to cure you. There's a difference.
Absolutely. And I I 100% appreciate that, you every gut is unique, but would I be right in saying that the course of action, right? Like the specific inputs that we can imbibe into our lifestyle, those are similar. So I'm talking stress management, being aware of your environment, so mold exposure, toxicity exposure, and also your food, right? These three: food, environment, and stress triggers. These might be things that we can universally find a way to manage, just to make sure we have the best. We're setting ourselves up for success towards MCAS healing.
You are. And not just MCS healing, chronic illness
Yeah.
healing, these things that I'm implementing, if I was stressed 3 years ago, I'd have a glass of wine. Um, Whereas now when I'm stressed, I'm tapping, or I'm working on my vagus nerve,
Wow.
or I'm going for a
Yeah.
walk in nature, or I'm sitting on the sofa watching, a film with my son, or I'm doing things that are, that kind of healthy chemistry. And, I'm still very symptomatic. I don't want to kind of give anyone false sense illusion that I have cured myself from mast cell. I am healing incredibly slowly. And as I said, the gut is good. The gut is good. That's one down. There's a lot to go, but if you can work through your illness, the only way I could describe it is work through it systematically. If you throw everything at something all at once, you've got no idea what's working. So for me, it was try medication, try it for 2 weeks. Have I reacted? No. Okay. Maybe try supplement. Have I reacted? No. Okay. Maybe try some new food groups. Have I reacted? Yes. Okay. Well, it's the food groups, potentially. Let's take them out. Does the gut go back to normal? It is monitoring, trial and error, working out what your triggers are. And there's no simple way to do this. And so it's about taking, and the other thing is there's no knight in shining armor that's gonna come and rescue you. You are your knight in shining armor.
Right. This
It's as simple as that. You've got to be in control of your own health. And saying, "I can't do it, I give up, or I don't wanna try that," I get that. It's really hard, and there's times where I've just thought, "My God, this is a really hard journey," but what is what's the alternative? Not try? You have to try. You have to try it.
That's so inspiring, Kate. And I think it's like just that reminder of self-empowerment that you are the only one to get you out of the situation. You're the only one who can take the actions. You're the only one who can
You
practice
are.
those mindfulness activities to get yourself towards healing.
You are the only person, but that doesn't mean you're alone. And I want to explain the difference, because on my journey, I felt really alone. And it was kind of me battling with specialists, me battling with GPs, battling with dermatologists, battling with neurologists, and I'm also self employed and I'm a mummy. And I was just exhausted. And it wasn't until I found the Primal Trust program and I found the charities and I found Facebook groups, I was like, oh my goodness, there are thousands of people like me. So if you're struggling, when I say you have to be your own knight in shining armor, that doesn't mean you have to take on everything, but you have to take some responsibility for the things you can change, your health, your eating, you know, little things like your alcohol intake, getting outside in nature, doing things that make you calm. But outside of that, there are some really good support systems. And I mean, I've talked about a few, but I'm really happy for anyone that feels like they're struggling emotionally to get in contact, and I can maybe help with sending them towards the correct charities or groups that can help. The reason I started my page was not just to broadcast my own journey, was, there's people getting in contact saying, please help. Where do I go? Where do I start? And I don't have all the answers. I'm trying to figure this all out myself, that I can perhaps give you some pointers. And maybe one of those things is going to be that aha moment for you, that kind of like, this is helping me.
I love.
So,
And one thing I
yeah.
I loved, Kate, you were mentioning, tapping and breath work. I'm sorry, not breath work, vagus nerve stimulation. I was wondering if you can tell
Yeah.
us a bit about those, quick tips and tricks you have to, calm down your nervous system and get yourself back into that healing state.
Yeah. So, because I've been through a lot of trauma and my mast cell creates a lot of chronic pain, there are sometimes I feel a lot of those kind of panic emotions, and I do suffer with anxiety for partly from my diagnosis, but partly through losing family members. So the anxiety side of things, I found I couldn't talk my way out of anxiety. I tried lots of different counselors and talking about things, and it wasn't helping calming the actual body down. And so little things like humming, eye yoga, again, this is all on the Primal Trust program. Things like visualization, gratitude, meditation, writing down 3 things every day that you're really grateful for, even when you're in 11 out of 10 pain and you think, I can't get through the day. Just focus on something that makes you feel really positive. And it might just be a warm cup of tea. It might be walking barefoot in your garden, grounding. You read about all these different things about how to calm the vagus nerve and how to calm down your nervous system and to kind of reset it. That is a really good tool and a really powerful tool. And it's working for a lot of people. You read the Primal Trust testimonials. There's loads of different programs out there, but Primal Trust is the one I'm on personally. But also the nutritionists I work with, Summit Health, they talk about the vagus nerve and how important it is. Some saying to you, calm down, don't be stressed. It doesn't work. You have to send signals of safety to your body,
Right.
and it's about reframing your chronic illness and making your body feel safe. There's this thing going on. You can't control it. You can't push anxiety away. So work with it. Give your anxiety a big hug, you know?
Right.
Give your symptoms a big hug. Reassurance, you're gonna get through this. You're gonna figure it out. It's gonna take time, but you know, talk to your body and listen to it. And you know, some of it's working from the mind from down to the body, and
Mhm.
some of it's body practices that are gonna help the mind. So I'd say for anyone that's really struggling with the mental impact of MCAS or any chronic illness, that you should really be looking at uh, nervous system dysregulation. It's a big thing, and it can affect your gut. It can affect your gut too.
Wow, it does speak volumes though, Kate, that it is so important to have that community as you've so beautifully built on Instagram as well. Because like reminding yourself, having that positive self-talk, it could be so challenging in those times of true hardship, right?
Yeah, and I found myself in a very dark place, and that's something I want to be really honest with people, because I've had people contact me, and I know people that are feeling that they want to end their mission because the pain and the misunderstanding around chronic illness and not being heard or misunderstood or not getting a diagnosis. And I completely get that. I completely understand how hard that journey
Mhm.
is. And you can find yourself in a really, really dark place. But I did manage to scrape myself out of it. I still suffer from anxiety. It's still there, but I take it along for the ride now. I take it, I take it along for the journey. I recently went on holiday and my anxiety came with me. And, it's over time, these things,
Mm.
with the right tools and the right support network, they can improve. So I think anyone who's really feeling like, when I started this journey, I had a really good analogy, which was I felt like I was standing at the bottom of a mountain with flip flops on. And now I feel like I've got my hiking boots on.
Wow.
So I've
Yeah.
still got this huge mountain to climb,
Yeah.
and I'm not there yet, but I'm ready to climb the mountain. So anyone else that's feeling like they're standing there in flip flops, get your hiking boots on and just take that first step. And that first step for me was finding someone that can help you, finding someone that, if you suspect MCAS, and the other thing I want to make really clear is some of the MCAS testing I had came back negative. And this is what's really confusing for patients, because they say, "Oh, I was tested for tryptase, and I was tested with this, and I had my histamine levels tested, and I was tested for allergens, and it all came back negative." Well, I had a lot of negative results too. I also took pictures, probably about 30 pictures of every reaction I'd had on the skin, every single hive, every single skin rash, all of the redness, all of the skin peeling, the conjunctivitis, everything. Took them to my allergist, explained my symptoms, and without even running the tests, he was like, "I'm convinced you have mast cell. We're going to run the tests, regardless of what they come back as. How do you feel about perhaps trialing some medication or working with a nutritionist? Okay, we think this is what's going on. How do you feel about trying this?" So I think you need to find someone that understands mast cell, really understands it, is key.
Love it, love it. And Kate, to wrap up, I really wanted to leave a strong impression to our viewers on how it
Sure.
is we can persevere through those dark times. And I'm so grateful that you were so vulnerable about those times. What gives you hope on those hardest days?
Wow, that's a real good question, because I still have those dark days, and I don't want to paint this picture on my Instagram that I've got this all figured out and I'm skipping through a field of daisies, because I'm not. There are days where the pain is unbearable, or I'm having a reaction. I'm thinking, this is so hard. And then I kind of have to just reset and kind of think to myself, there are, for every 1,000 patients that are struggling and on the start of their journey, there's 1,000 patients that have figured it out. And, when you join the forums, I'd say that is a really good starting point. There are lots of things you need to ignore on the forums. Lots of people talking about symptoms, but it's about kind of picking out the things. Okay, well, this person worked with this allergist, or this person worked with this, and constantly Googling your symptoms. It doesn't really work. You just need to be a bit more proactive about your health. And what I mean by that is, on the dark days, you know, try and think about what it is that's going to heal you. Is it sitting there thinking about how much pain you're in? Or is it doing the things you love anyway whilst being in pain and waiting for the pain and waiting for the symptoms to go? That could be a long wait. So 2 years ago, I wouldn't have gone on holiday. I wouldn't have gone to the gym. I wouldn't have been seen out in public without makeup on or with rashes or peeling skin because I was so self conscious about my physical appearance, my emotion. I just didn't want people to see. And then one day I just thought, this just has to stop. You just got to live your life through the symptoms. And then, you know, sometimes when I'm, for example, playing a game of tennis with my little boy or watching a film or having friends around for dinner, I've forgotten about the pain for half an hour. And it might only be half an hour, but that's half an hour of not thinking about the pain. Whereas when I was laying in bed, I was thinking about the pain all the time. So for someone that's really symptomatic and struggling, I would say find those little moments of joy. And it might be like the silliest of things. It might just be putting on your favorite dance track and dancing like a lunatic for 3 minutes. It might be doing your favorite yoga video. It might be having your favorite cup of tea or your favorite snack that you know doesn't cause a reaction. But find those little moments of joy where you can and try and live your life as fully as possible, even with your symptoms, which I know is so hard. And when a practitioner says it to you, it's annoying because you think, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not going through it. But I am going through it. And I'm telling you, try and live your life as fully as you possibly can. And you might just find those symptoms ease a little bit when you're having fun.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kate. I have to say thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I think
Thank you.
thank you. I think the biggest takeaway I had was when you are in pain, when you're in the crisis, when health problems are hitting you left and right, it is our responsibility to be action oriented and constantly seek the positive and constantly look for ways we can take small steps towards healing.
Yeah, and healing is a journey. There's no, I wish I could say to someone there's a quick fix, but there's not. It can take months, sometimes 6 months to heal a gut, even longer depending on your symptoms. It can, but you've got to have faith in the process and you've got to give things a really good go. You've got to speak to a practitioner and, if someone says you've got to try this protocol for 6 months, if you try it for 2 weeks and you give up, what's the point in spending the money? You've got to put the work in. You have to.
Absolutely. It's a journey of self development for sure because right? Because
Yeah.
it is that journey where you're building that resilience, you're building that discipline, you're building that consistency and constantly trying to incorporate positive thinking, incorporating positive lifestyle changes, and incorporating positive people in your environment.
Yeah. And I think positive self messages as well. You can't see it because I took it down, but on this mirror here, before our podcast, I had a list of phrases which I use every day,
Wow.
which is I'll read these to you because
Please, yes.
I felt crazy when yeah. So every day I smile at my thoughts. So when I'm in pain, I smile at my pain. Okay. When I'm feeling anxious, I smile at my pain. And then every day I say to myself when I look in the mirror, I'm healthy, I'm strong, and I'm on a path towards healing. And it's about saying that every single day. And as I said, that gratitude, journaling, I felt really silly doing that as well, just listing things I felt grateful for. But if you're not listing them and you're not thinking about them, you're thinking about your chronic disease or your illness. So think about the things if they're so bad right now that you can't think of anything positive, think about a memory in the past, something that really made you happy and you enjoyed, or think about somewhere you want to be in the future. But the more you feed that fear and anxiety around your chronic illness, the more you feed something, the more attention you give it, the more it grows for me. So channel that energy. I'm not saying ignore it,
Right.
because sometimes you do need to give that anxiety a cuddle and some reassurance. But what I'm saying is don't let that be the main focus of what's going on in here.
Love it. Love it. Kate, thank you so, so much for all your time today. This is definitely not our last
Thank
conversation.
you.
Besides the Mast Cell Disease Girl, could we find you anywhere else?
In terms of just talking about chronic illness, you mean?
Yeah, like
Or in terms of
yeah, yeah, I meant like,
um
like cuz you were talking so highly of these groups where these are these support groups. I was wondering if there are any groups like our watchers could look at and hopefully join afterwards to get closer to the communities you were talking about, the support groups you were talking about.
yeah, so there are a few on Facebook. I can't remember the names of them off the top of my
Mhm.
head. But if people want to get in contact with you or myself later, I can give you the name of the two support networks. Also, the two charities I mentioned before, Mast Cell 360 and Mast Cell Action. If you reach out to them, they have advice on supplement protocols, medications, where you can start. If you want to find a practitioner in your area, in your country, someone that they have on their books that people have worked with previously, that there is a support network out there. But I want to stress as well, if people are really struggling, I have no problem in people reaching out and asking me what practitioners I've worked with. I'm here to kind of help people for free. I don't want anything in return. I need to kind of not see people struggling the way that I struggled when I started this journey. I want, there to be more awareness and for people to realize there is hope out there. There is.
Love it. Kate, again, thank you so, so much for this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.